All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Kimberly. And hi, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. I'm going to talk about a little bit about, just maybe a potential career path that you've never thought about. And I realize that I'm sharing the wrong screen right now. Um, and I should probably do a talk about technical glitches because that happens all the time to me as part of my career choice. But that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about developer relations and how is that a potential venue for you to explore as a someone who is studying computer science or computer engineering. So hopefully I think it's back. If you're not convinced that being a programmer is like the best job ever, this should convince you. I ended up actually building my own slide deck because I didn't like PowerPoint. So, that's one of the cool things that we can do being software developers. Just, there's a tool that you don't like, just build another one. So I ended up building this tool. And today's presentation is going to be about, what is Devrel? So, what is Devrel? Just before I get into it, let me just quickly introduce myself. It seems like my slides are working. Seems like I'm not there anymore. But let's try this. All right, doesn't matter. Let me introduce myself quickly. My name is Joel Lord. I work as a developer advocate, so I'm part of the developer relations team at Red Hat, more specifically for the OpenShift platform. I'm based in lovely Ottawa, Canada, and unfortunately, I've never had the chance to be at one of the Techlahoma events in person. I was at Thunder Plains recently, and another meetup, but I'm really looking forward to actually being able to travel again and to meet you all in person. If you ever want to get in touch with me, Twitter is always the best way. I love Twitter. So Joel ___ Lord is my Twitter handle. So as I mentioned, I wanted to talk about just another thing. If you're a software engineer or you're thinking of getting into software engineering, maybe you like the idea of being able to be technical and to code and do all of that kind of cool stuff. But maybe you're just looking for different alternatives. And I'm going to introduce a little bit developer relations and what they are. Um, so, what is developer relations? Well, basically, it's kind of a way to interface developers. So, especially when software engineers are your customers. So basically, what it means it's just marketing targeted at software developers. That is essentially what I do. That is kind of what I do today. I've mentioned the company that I'm working for. The company name is right there in my slides, and so I kind of promote my company, but without being doing some explicit marketing all the time. So basically, that's kind of our job. That's what we do, and we make sure that software developers, if they are our customers, well, that they love our product. There are multiple aspects to it, and there's a lot of different things that are kind of encompassed when we talk about developer relations. And there's kind of three major roles, and it's funny because Daniel his role actually was mentioned as a developer evangelist, sometimes also called technical evangelist. And the role of an evangelist is real to talk about technologies. A lot of the time, and that's what I used to do, and still kind of what I do today, but just being out there and educating other software developers. So basically, a good part of my job is to just learn some cool technologies and then go out there, learn them, and then go and share that information. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy about my job, just being able to share all that information that I get. Developer advocates are another aspect of developer relations. That is my official title nowadays. So developer advocates kind of do a little bit of the same thing as developer evangelists. We do also go to a lot of conferences and talk at multiple events. But one big difference is oftentimes that we're there to be the voice of the developers to the product managers. So we are kind of there to interact with the product managers so that any questions or any input that we might get when we meet some of our customers or some software developers, we just bring that back to the product team and making sure that we can interface between those two teams. So that's also a good aspect of my job. And finally, another role that you will often find as being part of developer relations is community managers. So making sure that that you have a community that you want to be part of as a software developer. So there's forums. I can think of Odd where I used to work, where they had a great community. They had a lot of forums. There was a lot of people involved, and community managers were in charge of nurturing all of those relationships with the users. To make sure that our customers and users are happy and excited about the product. So you might wonder, what does a day in the life of a DevRel person look like? Um, there's no day that is exactly the same. So that's kind of one cool thing. It can also that's kind of also what makes it hard to define, because there's so many things that we do, and there's always that little danger of getting into burnout just because there's so many things that we want to do. Uh, but basically, what our role is in general, it's composed between those three pillars, right? Code, content, and community. So there's always a very good portion of our role that is technical, coding some stuff. This slide deck is an example of such a thing. I've built that for just for a presentation, and I needed to do some stuff about containers, and I ended up writing this software, this slide deck framework. So there's a lot of coding that is still involved in my day-to-day life, which is one of the things that I really enjoy. I never when I was considering different careers, I always wanted to be hands-on. I wanted to be technical. I wanted to be able to code, and that's a good part of what I do. Producing content is also a good portion of my day-to-day job. Doing presentation like this one, or the other one that I saw that Kimberly shared in the Twitch chat. Producing those content, those presentations, and then giving those talks, as well as writing blog posts. So that's also a good portion. And finally, the community aspect, making sure that we nurture relations with software developers, that we get some feedback about products, about our product more specifically, with the community, and bringing that back to our managers. So you might wonder, how do I get into developer relations? And that's a very good question. It took me a while. So I started as a software engineer, and that's when I realized that, like, I enjoyed being like hands-on, being technical, but doing that all the time, I kind of missed a little bit of the human aspect and meeting some people. Um, so it took me a while to get into developer relations and to find my path. But one of the things that you'll probably need is to be somewhat technical. I have met some people that are not technical at all, and they do a great job at being developer advocates. One of my colleagues actually has a background in journalism, and he writes like so many great blog posts, books, and all that stuff. So he's able to still understand kind of the technology behind that. But he's not a technical person. He's not someone who has who had a career as a coder. I've also seen more and more junior level DevRel positions that are available as well. So yes, they kind of expect that you would be somewhat technical, but not that much, not as much as a senior developer. I think one of the best thing is one of the things that you really need to, especially if you're into evangelism or advocacy, is enjoying sharing the knowledge that you have. So I spend most of my time just learning stuff and then sharing that information. But most importantly, I think the one thing is being passionate. I love what I do. I'm really passionate about all the technologies that I learn, and that I think it shows most of the time when I do present. So being passionate, I think, is a very important aspect of that job as well. So how do you get started? You're already on the right path. If you're here, if you're learning how to code, get some stuff out there, put some stuff on GitHub, explore, have fun, build some tools, play with technology, and get some stuff out there. Write some blogs. It doesn't matter. Nobody will read you at first, so don't be ashamed of what you write, and just get some stuff out there, and then apply. Just apply for the jobs. One of the things that I've noticed, especially in our in computer science, is that a lot of the positions will require like 20 years of experience with a technology that came out last year, or they'll require a master's degree in computer science. I don't have a formal background in computer science, but still I've managed to get a career out of that. So um, don't feel that you have to meet all of those criteria. Just apply, give it a try, and you'll see. And attend meetups. I think that is one of the, and I don't know why I didn't put it there, but making sure that you go there, meet some people, network with people. And that is definitely a very good way to meet and to find and hear about those jobs. If you have any questions, Twitter, as I said, always the best way to reach me. So you can reach me at Joel__Lord. And that's all I had. So thank you very much for being here.
Great, thank you, Joel. We do have a couple of questions from Time Frog on Twitter, on Twitch. The first one is: who do you identify as the gatekeepers or decision makers in that sales pipeline for putting tools in the hands of developers?
All right, let me just read that
Yeah, you
question
might.
again because that
I
was.
know there are actually three parts to it, so you might just want to look at it so I don't butcher it too much and trying to relay it to you if you're able to see it in
Uh,
Twitch
where's
chat.
where's the question? Sorry.
Um, I will see if I can get it over to you real quick. Um,
Okay, who do you identify as the gatekeepers or decision makers in that sales pipeline for putting tools in the hands of developers? Um, so there's a lot of different people that could be involved. I'm sorry, I've lost my camera. I don't know why it's stuck on that one, but it doesn't matter. So there's usually a lot of people involved in the process. Um, in general, our team is oftentimes part of the marketing department at most companies. So it would be people in marketing, CMOs type of thing. I'm not sure if that answers the question, but yeah. Let me know if you wanted me to expand on that. Examples of interacting with those roles that led to a conversion. Um, so the tricky thing about developer relations, and that is, and if you ever if you ever want to get into a career into that, one thing they're going to ask you in an interview is like, how would you measure success? And I think the only good answer is, well, it's really hard to. You can't really. Most of the feedback tends to be a little bit anecdotal. Is that a correct word? Like it's just like, oh, well, I have a story, and I've heard someone. I have a lot of examples of people telling me that, hey, I've tried your product because I saw it at a conference, and then our company decided to buy it. So it is really, really hard to define. If you are interested, though, there's a book called The Business Value of Developer Relations by Mary Tengval, and she really goes into the details of how can you measure those and to try to track those interactions. And finally, does your approach change depending on the size of an organization? Yes, well, it's not only the size of an organization. I'd say it's really about the philosophy of the organization. So some companies will really put developer relations right up front. It's the one way to sell the product. If you So my previous job was at Auth0, so that's why I take them as an example, because I have a little bit of inside knowledge. But they were very, very developer centric. And I say were because they were just bought. And the reason why they were bought is because they were so developer centric. So they had, all that content. They had a team writing for the blog. They have a great blog. They had a big team of developer relations, while some very large companies, such as Red Hat, tend to have a smaller team because we're marketing at different level. So it really depends on the philosophy of the company. So some companies will go all in with developer relations and really try to sell to those developers, while others will try different things.
Gotcha. Great answers. Chris said that we could save his question, but I'm really curious to hear your answer. So let's. I think we've got plenty of time. Chris was asking like how important it is, or like is a track record of writing blog posts and giving talks, is that a requirement for getting into DevRel? Is like, yeah, how important are those things?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I don't want you to think that don't want you to think that it is a criteria that is absolutely necessary. It is not. I have seen some people getting into developer relations and then they were doing their first conferences and blog posts. But I really found that it helped, to kind of show that if that's going to be your job, you want to show you want to have some sort of a portfolio, and it does help to have some content out there, some things that you can point to. Um, and ultimately, as part of an interview process, they're going to ask you to do a little talk or a little demo. So some practice doesn't hurt. So go out there, go to your local meetup, go to, I'm pretty sure Techlahoma is looking for speakers most of the time. So apply, give it a try. And And it's also important that you find your voice when you do your presentations and that you kind of own your content. So giving multiple talks helps, but I don't think it's a requirement. But it definitely helps as part of a portfolio.